Hey guys, how we doing? Back in another video from Nux Taku. At the moment of me recording this video, it is called the Top 10 Power Systems in Anime 700k Special. If that is the title of the video by the time this goes up, cool. It might have changed. It's changed 4 times before filming this, so we're gonna go with that, and the thumbnail will have the correct title in at the time of me uploading it. Let's get into this. I'm so happy that Nux has hit 700,000 subscribers. He's definitely going to be on 1 million by the end of the year. His subscribers growth is going up so much, and the videos are so good. The flex animes are amazing, and I'm looking forward to this because it's all about power systems in anime, and we all know that the best animes have power systems. It just makes them more interesting. Let's see what Nux has to say.
Okay, I'm gonna be blunt. Any self-respected fantasy action setting that does not have a phenomenal power system is doomed to absolute failure on many freaking levels. Yes. There is no excuse for not making a good one, or at least a decent one. And I do have a few series in mind when I think of this. Not that I will necessarily name them, because I don't see any purpose in doing so. Now, I am always drawn into an interesting power system because it can do so much more than merely an explanation for why this guy is shooting fire and this guy is shooting lightning. As you all know, every time I hit a different milestone of 100k sub intervals, I release a milestone special, which is a more personalized video aside from the more general analysis or satire I unleash upon the world. And this time, I wanted to talk about my top 10 power systems in anime because it's such an intriguing topic and it's something I'm always excited to talk about. Now, after compiling this list, I noticed something very interesting about power systems, and it is something I wanted to share because, honestly, it is low-key not so bonkers cool. So, this video will sort of be a top 10 power systems in anime, but I will also be covering how to make a power system fantastic and what the gimmick is in each power system that will make it truly great. The underlying theme for this video is a power system is only truly amazing when it doesn't just incorporate how different fighters can use different powers, but where the power system itself is contingent on the core themes of the series itself. Now, before actually mentioning my top 10, I would like to bring a few up so you can see what I mean. You have something like Naruto. Naruto is my go-to generic power system that I would like to explain. Not necessarily generic in the bad way, but generic in how it handles the inner aura within everyone and how it expresses itself differently with different people based on chakra natures and jutsu affiliations, as well as a breakdown between taijutsu, genjutsu, and ninjutsu, which is also great, tapping into psychological attacks, magic attacks, and physical attacks. So Naruto, on a baseline, does a fantastic job with this. My Hero Academia also does a similar thing, but it's far less training-based and far more luck-based. You're born with the quirk you get. Yes, you can learn how to use it in certain ways, but no, if you're born with a quirk that makes your eyeballs have the ability to look at the inside of your head, you will never be able to shoot laser beams. I'm sorry. And the other power system I wanted to bring up, really it's sort of two, it's Norogamis and Soul Eaters, because both of them have a very similar idea of a partnership between either two God people and together. His weapon in Origami, or a Soul Reaper and their Death Scythe in Soul Eater, where one part of the party becomes the weapon and the other part is the wielder. Now you have the ultimate focus on teamwork and growth as a team. It is a cool concept, in order to succeed and get further, and they're both fantastic, but that's not really the point. All of these do a great job on the fundamentals of a brilliant power system, especially Naruto, because it incorporated the brilliance of the sexy jutsu, which is underrated in its originality, skill, and inspiration. It's in fact almost as inspiring as the time Gintoki from Gintama was explaining the philosophy behind why wetting your bed is one of the most wonderful feelings in the world. You don't need to get up to go to the bathroom, no. Just let it flow. The warmth. Okay, fine, let's not get into
my god, what? I need to watch Gintama,
bro. Now, here is my top 10 power systems in anime. I am curious to hear your thoughts below, of course.
That's so funny.
Thank you again a million bazillion times. Damn it, 700,000 subscribers. That's actually insane. So, here's my 7th milestone special. And through it, the secret behind a brilliant power system. In 10th place, I actually have Bleach. Now, Bleach's power system at first glance really seems like it is all over the place. And I myself was surprised that it ended up landing in the top 10 because I didn't exactly like that. Oh my god, Ichigo's so great because he turns out not only is he a human, but he's also a Soul Reaper, a Hollow, a Quincy, a Fullbringer, and literally every other species that the series introduced throughout the entire run. Very cool, Ichigo, very cool. Well, I don't exactly necessarily like how Ichigo is built in that direction, the actual power system is pretty cool. I do like that there are different factions wielding different styles of powers, and I do like especially what a Zanpakuto represents. The Zanpakuto, the sword, is the culmination of one's being. So therefore, everyone has these inner battles with their reverse world spirit of their sword in order to grow further. Some of my favorite moments in Bleach are Ichigo against White Ichigo.
Yeah, it's class.
Teaching you that this sword, which is an extension of your being, is not just a weapon, but it is you as well as being its own individual. It's an interesting dynamic, and I don't want to stress on this point, because honestly, I would like to move on a little bit. I want to get through this a slightly bit faster than my last milestone special, which was 40 minutes
Yes,
long.
it was.
Also because I'm doing this more to get the point out what makes a power system great than the actual interesting dynamics within each power system. So, my 9th favorite power system of all time is from Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic.
Interesting, I've not seen this.
And Magi, the Adventures of Sinbad, and every other Magi offshoot ever. You should all watch/read Magi. It's freaking amazing.
Do need
now,
to.
the way this world is set up is that you have these dungeons, and in order to get Jin, which are basically genies that each have a different power and attach themselves to metal vessels of a king's candidate that was selected by a Magi, if they beat a dungeon, which most of them end up dying, they will become a king's candidate. A candidate to become the king of the entire world. So this is, without sugarcoating it even a little, a battle for supreme rulership. It is a political war between many different countries
looks awesome.
with many different sides rearing their ugly heads, coming up with different strategies in order to, well, freaking take over the world. The power system itself is interesting because now that someone has been selected as a king candidate and did conquer a dungeon, so they did obtain a metal vessel, they can then have people of their household, i.e. their royal guards or whatever, gain offshoots of this metal vessel power in order to slowly but surely develop some sort of elite government under his rule. Now, the main character in the beginning of Magi is this fellow named Alibaba. He is a king's candidate. He gets a Jin, but he doesn't, like, have a country or anything. He's just some random schmo walking around. But it's not the point. The point is he has the potential of becoming a king. He can become a king. He does grow tremendously throughout the series. Cool. That is one part of the power system in Magi. On the other hand, there are the Magi themselves, as well as magic. Like chakra or nen or ki or whatever the hell. Everyone has Magoi within them. Metal vessels give them much more Magoi and allow them to, you know, administer massive attacks, the likes of which most non-metal vessel users will be totally screwed by. But Magis can use Magoi from their surroundings, not just Magoi from within them, making them far more powerful, but not necessarily stronger than a metal vessel user himself. Now, I go on this extremely long tangent because what makes this interesting is because you have your several Magis that go around selecting people to have the chance to become a king's candidate if they do conquer a dungeon. And now, the power system itself is interesting because once you conquer more than one dungeon, you can constantly swap from one Jin to the other depending on your scenario and make crazy combos in order to become really freaking badass. Sweet. The power of fate is also very much at play where someone can only really become a king if they were selected by a Magi to become a king. And once someone was selected by a Magi to become a king, they are now a target of every other king in the world. One of the world powers, the Ko-Empire, has many members in their royal family with Jin.
You know he's really getting into this because he didn't say so. Wow.
Try to recruit other metal vessel users. So the reason why I feel like Magi's power system itself is phenomenal is because it's more than just a very interesting way to have badass battles. It's far more than that. It adds to the political setting.
It seems like it does, yeah. It helps build the story.
And that is really sort of where I'm starting to get at when it comes to power
systems.
Cool.
I like it.
Every power system has to enhance the actual
story.
This power system is built directly on the political nature of the Magi universe, and that's what makes it great. So moving on to number 8, the Alchemist Brotherhood. That is the only correct way to pronounce the series. I don't want to hear any of this cultural appropriation, Full Metal Alchemist garbage. We'd even say that because Full Metal Alchemist, more like Gold Metal Alchemist. Got him! Okay, I'm sorry. So the power system in Fullmetal Alchemist is alchemy. It is the power to transmit and transmutate your energy into objects in order to break them down at the chemical level and shift them into something else. Just
power
like
of equivalent
how real-world
exchange.
alchemy was supposed to work if it was actually a thing. What makes this power system so fascinating to me is more than just the intricate nuances that every different character and every different alchemist could think of to use their alchemy in different ways. You have Gimli, who likes making explosions. Yes. You have Roy, who likes making fireballs.
Boom.
You have Ed, who likes transmuting metal goddamn everywhere. There's metal freaking everywhere. His full body is metal. Well, half his body is metal.
No, I'd say a quarter of it.
This series should be called Half Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. No one wants to listen to me. But what I like about the power system in Full Metal Alchemist much more more than its base parts is how it's used in regard to Ed's philosophy in life. So, as we know, in IRL, 3 really terrifying letters when put together, I know, when science began to really take off and discover more and more about the known world, where now you don't have to say, oh, it isn't magic after all. That's really where atheism started as well. Until you couldn't explain normal science and physics, there is no logical explanation aside from God. With alchemy, it's just taking science to the next level. It's looking at magic from a scientific standpoint, where, and this is why I think Fullmetal Alchemist 2003 starts off stronger than Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. In the first episode of the 2003 version, it takes place with Ed in Lior, where Father Cornello was being worshipped by everyone in the city, and Ed was saying, this man is a cheat, he is not exacting the will of God. And it's this very fascinating dichotomy throughout the entire series of Fullmetal Alchemist between science and faith that is one of the grandiose themes throughout. So, the fact that alchemy is completely science-based, no matter who is using whatever facet of alchemy they can come up with, it makes it far more compelling to not need to believe into the mystical. And then you get the really creepy truth guy face with smile thing going, it's somehow interdimensional when the guy tried human transmutation or something, and then you're like, oh my god, nothing equals a human soul. What is a human soul? I don't understand. And that's where the interesting dichotomy starts. A lot of these themes are present in Fullmetal Alchemist, and it's only pushed so much further by the foundation of what alchemy actually is. Aside from being just a fantastic battle style.
Oh, it's so cool.
The fights all super exciting.
They are amazing.
To see how they can use their imagination based on the physicalities of the world for combat. It's just freaking great. Number 7, no game, no life. I fell in love with this power system the absolute moment it was introduced.
It needs a season 2,
man. A wonderful isekai setting where the main character, who is known as Blank, and his brother and sister, both get teleported to an alternate world, and this world is governed by games. Wars are not through swords, shields, and murder. No, it's through out-gaming whichever adversary you are facing in whatever arbitrary game you are challenging them in. Everything in the world of this board is decided via games, whether it's rock, paper, scissors, it's chess, it's poker, or it's interdimensional IRL Beastmaster Fortnite, which is pretty much what they do at one point as well. Point is, the reason why this power system is beautiful is, aside from the fact that it makes every battle just so fun, is it has very much of that Yu-Gi-Oh-esque appeal. Now, the Yu-Gi-Oh power system is not exactly something I would call one of the greatest ever, because
but it is entertaining.
You have to watch it through the goggles that, if someone's trying to take over the world, you can't say, all right, Mr. Guy trying to take over the world magic, I challenge you to a duel, and if I defeat you, you must stop taking over the world. You know what, Pharaoh, I agree, we should duel.
This
not
challenge.
Exactly the most airtight plot behind the battle system, but still the duels are epic. In No Game, No Life, it makes sense why, if you want to conquer another country, challenge them to Go Fish, and somehow it'll be the most badass game of Go Fish.
It makes sense because it's within the context of how the world works.
Appeals is, aside from the fact that you have the most goddamn epic battles of wit and skill that the imagination can come up with, and the fact that these simple-seeming games have the most monumental stakes ever, it very much follows the deeper themes of the series, aside from the superficial ones that are just badass incarnate. The central theme of No Game, No Life is something that Sora says when he becomes the king of humanity. Not humanity, humanity, because they get copyrighted for using the word human or something. I'm not exactly sure what the philosophy was behind that, but not the point. When he gives his speech to humanity, the weakest race in Discord, where everyone else has these crazy magic powers or can live forever or are super agile, and they each have games based around their individual strengths. Humanity has nothing. They are just humans. And his speech that he gives is that humanity will not be wiped off the map. Humanity will rule the world. It will take over, and it will do this through its weakness. Humans are powerful because humans are weak. While they are up against no matter the adversary, they will have to use their cunning and intellect.
They will have to do whatever it takes to win.
They are the ultimate underdog in their entire world. They can reach the peak of their reality through wit alone. Because they are the underdog, and because they are overlooked by every other race, that is why they will have to triumph. One of the main themes in No Game, No Life is that humans are strong because of their weakness. And I don't want to get into a whole philosophical discussion about the secret genius of No Game, No Life, because there actually is what to talk about behind this entire philosophy. The game mechanics itself completely match up to this, because in these games, games, they're at monumental disadvantages against any other race. And
Yeah,
despite these disadvantages,
they really
they
are.
will use their weaknesses
I have
to
this
their
ability to do
greatest
this. I have the
strengths
ability to
in
do
order
that.
to win through charisma, through outthinking their adversaries, and through applying knowledge that they have that it's impossible that other people in this universe has in order to take the big fat W. These games are won by humans because they are weak, putting their skills up against a far greater force and coming out on top. The fact that all fights have to be done through games puts a massive dampener on the strong and gives a chance to the weak.
Yeah,
That is
everyone
why,
has
in
a
Game of
chance
Life,
to win.
Power System is my 7th favorite power
It's
system
class.
in all of anime. Number 6, World Trigger. Now, a lot of people haven't watched World Trigger,
I've not
and I
watched
think it's
World
probably
Trigger.
the least popular anime on this list, but that doesn't stop the battle system from being absolutely
Okay.
enthralling. On a superficial standpoint, you have everything you want in a battle system in World Trigger. Just like Chakra Net and Magi and whatever the hell, there's Treon. Treon is this special energy within people in order for them to use their power, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Point
Okay.
is, there are these other dimensions that are bordering on theirs, and there's this organization called Border for that very reason, where they take mostly high school kids for some odd reason, and they train them the art of killing neighbors, which are these creatures from other dimension that are coming in and invading and stuff, and whatever. That's the basic premise. It ends up getting a lot deeper, because there are so many more aspects to the battle system that at first you don't understand, like side effects. If someone has way too much Treon, they develop some extra power. Or black triggers. A black trigger, unlike regular triggers, which gives you one of Border's basic weapon styles, whether you're long range or close range or mid range, whatever, there's just so many different battle styles you can take, and so many different strategies you can come up with your squad depending on the battle style. Black triggers are far more powerful than your average trigger, and they are only created through someone actually sacrificing themselves in battle to give their ally a black trigger. They become the black trigger. It becomes a far more interesting battle, based so much more on tactics, since for the most part you can predict what you're up against, and you have to make do with what you have in the best way possible. As far as strategic battles, World Trigger is one of my favorite anime in this regard, and a lot of it is thanks to the battle system, which is built entirely around individual strength, but just as much on the strength of a team and what they can do working together. The battle system in World Trigger in itself is the most superficial aspect to the overall narrative, but at the same time it becomes a very central plot point because every dimension has a certain amount of black triggers and they're considered different levels of strength, and they end up needing to go dimension hopping to save captured users of black triggers. The most badass character, Jin, has to give up his black trigger for political reasons. The reason why I like the battle system in World Trigger so much is, aside from the fact that the battles are entertaining as all hell, the battle system itself is a very centralized point of the story.
Yeah, that's what he's saying, like, they are the best. If it actually affects the narrative, decent.
Number 5, Black Clover.
Oh,
Black
hell
Clover's
yes.
power system is actually fantastic.
It's so
as far
good.
as the generic shonen go, I think it does a better job than most. Because, like, let's say, Naruto or My Hero Academia, it's very focused on Asta wanting to become the Wizard King.
The Wizard King.
Sort of like how Deku wants to become the greatest hero, or
And
like
here we
how
go,
Naruto
Naruto
wants to
wants
become
to
the
be
greatest Hokage. Where have we heard that before? And in most of these growth-oriented shonen, you have a very basic style about the protagonist who's getting stronger throughout, and because he cares about his friends, I'm like borderline fake crying right now, will push himself to new limits of power in order to defeat the enemy. I know, very touching. Not
Very
as
cool.
touching as Gintoki's speech about why pissing in your bed is one of the most serene and fantastic feelings you can ever experience. But
That
hey,
sounds
who am I to
amazing.
judge the beauty of bed pissing
It
when I
sounds so
myself have not
good.
yet mastered the art, but practice regularly. That was a weird tangent. But anywho, in anime like My Hero Academia and Naruto, you have adrenaline boosts, and that makes sense. In our real world, if you're very passionate about something, for
You
whatever
get
reason, you
hyped
can actually
up.
output more force than you would be able to if you were just casual about it. Adrenaline boosts make sense, damn it. They're not always plot armor, but they're sometimes plot armor. I'm not calling out anything in specifics like Kirito versus Gleam Eyes or anything, but
Oof.
plot armor is this very awkward moment where, because
I've
you
actually watched
care
that
so
episode.
damn
I am
much,
trying to
you
catch
become
up, I
so
swear.
much stronger, and because you're developing as a character,
It did seem to come out of nowhere where he was like, this guy's really strong. Oh, I break his sword and nearly hit him.
Now, on a narrative standpoint, it's very important to develop your characters. And if you're somehow developing your characters, and at the same time using that development as a reason to become more powerful in-game, well then that's wonderful. Now, most anime fail at combining these two very integral properties to a story. On the one hand, they're becoming stronger, and on the other hand, they're developing as a character. Very often these two mesh into one as Deku manages to use an 100 million gazillion% smash when he's against Muscular because, you know, he really cares and stuff. Kota kicked him in the balls, so they have a connection, goddammit. But Black Clover's power system actually manages to cement the combination between individual growth and the power system. And that is the power of grimoires. Every grimoire has a bunch of pages, and in all those bunches of pages, you have a lot of spells.
Yep.
Now, how does any character learn new spells? Is it by training? Actually, no.
It's
not
through
by
character
training.
growth.
You can only hone the spells you actually know and use very basic techniques, like flying on broomsticks and whatever. The grimoire's pages get filled up by character development.
There you go, like I said, yeah.
Yes, Ghosh, the mirror dude from the Black Bulls. This guy
As
only
they
cared about
grow and
himself
become better
and his
in that,
sister,
new
and that was
spells
it.
are
It's not at
accessed,
all
they then
weird
stay
and
in the book.
It's slightly weird and incesty, but that's not really the point. I'm just gonna gloss over that.
The whole thing with the
Because
sister's
of that,
weird.
his mirror only was always able to show him a reflection of himself, because he used mirror powers. And he was able to shoot lasers, refracting off the different mirrors to blast his opponents. But the point is, once he actually starts really caring about his teammates in the Black Bulls, he develops as a person by caring about others, and also, through that, another page of his grimoire gets filled, and now he can make clones of his teammates as well. What? Yes. It bases completely and entirely off individual character development.
Yeah, it's class.
It's like that with Noelle that you're going to see in a couple episodes in the anime, which I will not spoil. And it happens with Yami. It happens with dozens of characters in the actual show where their power development is based
God, I need to
entirely
catch up
on
with
their
Black Clover
character
so bad. I need to catch up with so many shows.
Points together was phenomenal, and I have not seen anything do as good of a job, except for my number 1. Number 4, Pokemon. Now, I'm gonna be brief, because most people don't read the Pokemon Adventures manga, which is, by the way, one of the greatest manga
I've
of all
tried.
time,
It
but
does
the
look
Pokemon battle
good.
system
Mother's
in the
Basement's done a
anime
good
is
video on
just
that.
used as a sport. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh, sort of. I mean, why is every villain trying to take over the world not holding more than 6 Pokemon? If you're trying to take over everything, you should have a goddamn army of Pokemon. But no, it's like, oh, I only have my 6 Zubats that are going to take over the world with. Very cool. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Pokemon battles is not necessarily a sport like it is in the anime, but it's a life and death situation. You, as the trainer, are trying your absolute hardest to kill the enemy trainer that's a bad dude or a good dude, depending on what side you're on. Yes, they will use their Pokemon to protect themselves. You'll use your
Pokemon die
to
in
attack
this.
them. You'll ambush them. You'll stab them. You'll freeze them to death. These are things that happen in the Pokemon manga. Pokemon battles in the manga are basically chess games, where your opponent doesn't know exactly which pieces you're using, but his goal is to take down the king. You have to protect your king and take down the enemy king as well. And you don't know what they will be thinking and what they will be doing with their pieces.
That's been chopped in half, man.
Everyone has a slightly different power. Of course, the king can also attack, just like in the Pokemon manga. The trainer can sometimes attack. I'm not saying attack another Pokemon, because I have a very bad experience with punching dragons. Just never worked out for me.
Damn.
But Bruno has like nunchucks and Pokeballs at the end of the nunchuck, so we'll throw out his Pokemon from the end of the nunchuck, which is much closer to the enemy trainer. So Hitmonlee gets sent out past Red's defenses to immediately try and take him down. Before Bruno starts his fight, the terrain he's on is a subterranean Onyx that is ready to just charge up and wreak havoc on everyone. Pokemon battles in the manga are goddamn chess games, and they're absolutely
It does
brilliant.
seem
But it's more than a
boss, to be
chess.
fair.
Chess games, you don't actually have a connection with your pieces, because this isn't no game no way. In a chess game, they are merely your pawns at your disposal. See what I did there? That was pretty genius, I know.
That's clever.
Here, you care about them, they care about you, and you have to really work in sync with these Pokemon and know them very goddamn well, which stresses the friendship theme of Pokemon so much and makes every battle such a pleasure and heart-rending terror to watch, depending on who's kicking who's butt. Moving on, number 3, it's a tie. Even though I don't really do ties, this one, you'll see why I let it pass. It's One Punch Man and Mob Psycho. Both created by one, both have a very similar theme in their power system that makes each of them great. But Mob is coming from a slightly less satirical place than One Punch Man. Better and for worse.
Mob Psycho's so
are purely based
good.
on the character's mental situation, which will be expressed in different ways. Seeing that both the focuses of these series are on the main character and their own version of depression, which stems from an entirely different thing. I've made videos on both. Go watch those. I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah,
it changes your entire outlook on the series to be on a much more mindful wavelength than the power-based shonen we're used to. The monsters in One Punch Man become monsters because they cave into obsession for some reasons, just like the
I love crabs. I'm now a crab man.
Mental predicaments they found themselves in. I really don't want to go in length on this because I will be talking about it more very soon. So we're just going to move on to number 2 right now and talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. On a superficial level, JoJo's is my favorite power system of all time.
It's so good.
Is more bombastic than the last. Everyone has a stand power, and everyone's stand power has very goddamn unique abilities.
They are very unique. Jesus Christ.
But if you know what they are, you can come up with many multitudes of ways.
Yeah, you gotta know.
That's
you
why
gotta be able
the
to
Stardust
counter.
Crusaders are on their journey, even though there's like 5 of them, and each of them have a moderate to great stand, except for Joseph, because Hermit Purple's a disaster. Even when they're up against one single adversary, that opponent is an absolute terror. He knows what they could do, but they don't know what he can, and he can potentially take out all of them. So, on a basic level, so much mind flippery is involved in every single fight, which is insane, because it's like, oh, this guy's stand can shoot fire, and this guy's stand can punch hard, and then you realize that you're getting into like this 4th dimensional chess in order to defeat your opponent. I mean, one of the most fantastic in the entire JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was when Jotaro was playing poker against Darby. Why are they playing poker? Well, that's because of many spoilery things that would make this fight way less epic, but it was epic, regardless.
So good.
So good. To use these very diverse, wacky powers makes the fights in JoJo's the best fights in anime. It's more than just making the best fights in anime, which is like, you know, pretty cool also. I mean, not gonna lie.
Stand battles are amazing.
Let me use a stand as an example of this. And I'm gonna pick my favorite stand. Kid Queen. My favorite stand in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now,
from
Killer Queen's
Kira.
basic ability is that whatever it touches now becomes a bomb that it can detonate at any time. It's a very basic power that if you don't know what it does, you'll end up touching that doorknob. But Kid Queen already touched that doorknob, and boom! True story. But the beauty of Killer Queen is that it completely represents the stand user, Hida Yoshikage. And that is really how every stand works. Believe it or not, even though stands in JoJo's are some of the wackiest abilities ever, every single one is a beautiful manifestation of the spirit of the stand user. The easiest example of all of this is Purple Haze from JoJo's Part 5.
Oh my god.
That on the outside, it's this nicely dressed thingo, but on the inside, it's an absolute terrifying creature that melts everything around it. Which
Rage.
Is and the stand user.
I finished Part 5.
This nice composed
we finished
genius,
it. It was
so
good.
He killed someone by whacking him with a dictionary, and when he was pissed off
because he was a
dirty
perv,
stabbed him in the face with a fork. So on the inside, this guy is a total savage nutcase. On the outside, calm, composed genius. Everyone could look up to this fellow. That's a very simple, straightforward example. Hida Yoshikage is my favorite villain because on the one hand, he wants to live a very nice, happy,
just leave me alone. I want to do
all,
my own thing life.
But on the other hand, he's a serial killer going around blowing people up and stealing their hands.
And has a hand fetish.
These two ideals don't exactly mesh all of the time, but still, you get so involved in this character's psychology, you can almost understand where he's
kind of relate.
I made an entire video on Kid.
Yes, you did.
Get into
it's really good.
The reason why Kid Queen is my favorite stand in JoJo's is because if it touches a doorknob, you will not see anything wrong with that doorknob. That doorknob will function like every other doorknob on the planet. But when Kida pushes that invisible button and detonates the doorknob, there is an explosion. If you know my taste on Konosuba, you know I like explosions.
Explosion!
Now, this invisible bomb that Kid Queen can place on anything very much mirrors the invisible bomb that is Kira Yoshikage in society. Looking at society,
oh yeah, that's a very good way of looking at it. He is just hidden in plain sight, going about his normal life.
He is nothing out of the ordinary at all, functioning just like every other member of society is functioning. But when he decides to push that button, he is an explosion. He is a menace to society. And it's that very fascinating combination between every stand and their stand user that makes it a physical embodiment of their spirit in action form. I just have to say that on a superficial level, most fun fights in all of anime. But on a deeper level, for every individual character's various themes, it's also one of my favorite power systems of all time, definitely earning it its spot at number 2. My favorite power system, to no one's surprise, is Nen from Hunter x Hunter. And that's because of the same reason that everyone likes Nen. Nen is based on personality, depending on what your strengths are.
Everyone has a chance to beat everyone if you do strategies.
And of course, all Nen is based on the psychology of any given user at any given time. Now, I was really struggling back and forth whether I wanted to put JoJo's stands above Nen on this list, but there's really no way I can justify doing that. Nen is just far more intricate than anything ever. You can literally write an entire book on how Nen works, and then a new chapter will come out, flipping everything you ever thought you understood about Nen on its head, and it still somehow makes even more sense than before. Nen is based 1000% on the mental state of the Nen user at any individual given point in time. If someone is pushed to the brink, and they are willing to give their own life for the fight, that will make a subconscious condition upon themselves, sacrificing themselves to give them that ultimate boost.
Yeah. Jesus, that's one hell of an example.
Because it's not just, oh, he was very passionate, so he had an adrenaline boost. No, it fits so perfectly within the folds of Hunter x Hunter's world. He subconsciously made a condition on himself, and his power boost was completely in tangent with his
ridiculous
at that given moment in time. I love taking a deeper look at the different psychological standpoints of the different characters in anime, and Nen is the embodiment of that psyche. Nothing really comes close to Nen, so I don't think anyone's surprised that it's my number one. But
number
now,
one,
to wrap
Hunter
up
x Hunter
nicely,
power
the
system.
overarching theme of this entire video, and why I decided that I would place these power systems above any other, is very simply because, not just that it has a gimmick that makes it more stand out than something like
it goes along with the narrative,
but every single one, in some shape or form, is in itself a microcosm of the greater story. Whether it's the thematic elements of the story, the psychological elements of the story, the political elements of the story, or the overall plot itself. The power system could be more than just a means to do epic battle, but it could be something that really evolves the entire world you're in. I really only thought of this as an integral point to power systems while I was working on this video, so honestly, thank you guys for bombarding me on Twitter asking for my milestone special. Very epic. Link to my Twitter in the description.
Very
and
cute.
Even more epic, thank you really so goddamn much for 700,000 subscribers. I can't even fathom how I got this far by just sarcastically memeing about anime. It's actually pretty nuts. But I am glad that I kind of made this little breakthrough. If y'all thought of it already yourself, I mean, power to you. Very awesome. But I'm always glad to see why I love something. I know it sounds crazy, but I end up liking everything I talk about so much more after I actually talk about it. Maybe I'm the nutcase here. Thank you all so much for giving me this opportunity. Let me know in the comments what you want on the 800,000 subscriber milestone. If we get there, that would be
You'll get there. It's going to be a
Leave
million
like on
subs by the end of the year,
if you
definitely.
enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Remember to read Pokemon Adventures and to have yourselves a most wonderful evening. Stay weird, fam.
Oh, no outro. Strange. That was cool. Very cool. Top 10 power systems. You need to watch Hunter x Hunter, babe.
What?
You need to watch Hunter x Hunter.
No.
Oh. How's Cannon Busters?
Brilliant.
Okay. Go watch Cannon Busters, guys. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. It's all you guys. Nick down.